Hello, everyone. I am Griffin, and we are back with another reaction. This time we are reacting to Womansplaining Men to Women, Compilation 47 to 52. I've seen this woman quite a few times pop up on my TikTok For You page, and I saw one of her videos just pop up on my YouTube feed, so I thought, you know what, why not? Let's react to this. Let's put my actual glasses on so those ones don't keep reflecting everything. Alright. I don't think I look good in glasses, but I kind of need them. Alright, let's see how this video is.
So I think every woman who has ever lived with a man has this shared lived experience where they're with you and they get a call and they're like, hey, yeah, all right, sure, bye. I want to womansplain how I think one of the biggest miscommunications between the way men's brains and women's brains work is our need for form over function and their need for function over form. And I have a really funny symbol to show you this.
All right, so I bought this cute little napkin holder, right? It's got a cute little bird on it, cute little leaves, and I bought these cute little decorative autumnal napkins.
And like, we use the napkins. I'm not like this monster, decoration towels are bad enough. I'm not gonna have decoration napkins too. So we use them and we were running a little bit low, right?
And so I noticed when I get home that they had been replenished, and I look in the back and sure enough, he had restocked them with some extra little Caesar's napkins that he had.
I'm dying laughing because my first thought in my head is, oh my God, he doesn't know that this is illegal. He doesn't know that I have a secret treasure trove of seasonal napkins for all occasions should they run low. But then my second thought was, wait, this isn't illegal. This is resourceful. My husband is single-handedly saving the planet.
I mean, he understood the assignment, did he not? Napkins go here, he put napkins there.
Like, why did I let Instagram fry my brain into thinking I need to spend all this extra money on decorative seasonal napkins when Little Caesars gives you a massive handful every time? So, we're keeping it. We're done being perfect little Instagram moms. Use the Little Caesars napkin. So I think every woman who has ever lived with a man has this shared lived experience where they're with you and they get a call and they're like, hey, yeah, all right, sure, bye. And you're like, what was that? And he's just like, oh, Cousin Dale's in the hospital. And so of course we're like, well, why? And then what does he have the audacity to say? I don't know. How dare you? Which leads you to ask like 3 more questions, even though at this point you have no reliable foundation that there's any further information coming your way, like which hospital, where was he at, what was he doing? He doesn't know, because he didn't ask, because guys don't ask, and here's why. Basically, a lot of men live in a constant state of fight or flight, and neither of those really warrant any time to ask questions. If you're Rocky in the ring, you're trying to get in and get out as quick as possible, right? He figures if it's important, he'll get the details in time. How many of you have heard this before? And honestly, deep down...
Yeah, see, it's really funny. It confuses the ever-living fuck out of a lot of women, and it is hilarious. The thing is, with us men, if it's important, we'll tell. We'll tell the person that we're talking to. We're not going to ask a bunch of questions like, normally some other people would. It's just, if I'm talking to one of my guy friends or somebody, another guy in my family, and they were like, exactly what she did with the imitating her phone. It's like, yeah, okay, got it, bye. I mean, and they're like, yeah, like she said, it's like, oh, this person's in the hospital. What? Why? Where? How? What happened? Like, I don't know. They didn't tell me. If it's important, I will get the information either right then, they'll tell me, or we'll get it later and we'll find out. We don't ask a bunch of questions because to us it's just a waste of time.
Down, a lot of them are kind of like, the less I know, the better. Every guy you know has gotten in trouble for knowing things at least once. Also, a lot of guys are just treating you the way they want to be treated. For a lot of guys, getting asked a lot of questions at once feels like an interrogation, even if the questions are innocent. Finally,
it really does feel like you're interrogating us, and it makes us feel like we've done something wrong or we're in trouble. It's like, what the hell? Just take it slow. You don't need to ask us a shit ton of questions within like a 30-second time span. it feels like we're being incriminated for something.
It's just a different culture for men. Men receive basically the opposite of praise when they do any sort of gossiping. Remaining stoic and gathering only necessary information is considered manly. But rest assured, it may take days, weeks, months, even years. There will come a day when someone tells your man, hey, you remember that time Dale went to the hospital? Yeah, turns out he got bit by a beaver. And he's going to be sitting there smiling to himself thinking, man, my girl is going to be so happy to hear this when I get home. No, whether he remembers to tell me or not is another story.
Yeah,
Okay,
pretty
how many
much.
of you have very vivid memories from being a kid of your blood turning ice cold when you were being an asshole and your mom looked at you and said, oh, just wait until your dad gets home? Yeah, that was like mom.
Oh, in my case, it wasn't wait till your dad gets home. It's like you either listen to me or I'm calling dad. I was always given one of two. I'm gonna do it over here because right here is the video, so I can't. It'd be one of two things for a threat against me, because I'm growing up. I was my mom's devil child. I was a little shit. But the two things she would always threaten me with was, one, she would either threaten to call dad because, I think it was 4th or 5th grade, my mom and dad split up, and so my dad was living somewhere else, and she would either have threaten to call dad, or she would threaten to send me to boot camp or military camp or something like that. And that would always scare the hell out of me. And my dad was in the Army for 30 years, and he's done the drill sergeant to me a total, I believe, of 2 or 3 times. And both times he's backed me. One time he's backed me against the closet door, and the other was a sliding glass door. He never laid a hand on me, but he would always get in my face and do the drill sergeant, and that scared the ever-living shit out of me. Because, Army veteran, scary guy. He's just a bit shorter than me, but he can be a scary dude. He's the nicest guy in the world, but he can get scary when he's pissed. And it's not easy to get him pissed.
Code for you're fucked. Dad voice is a very real thing, and let's face it, men can be a lot more physically intimidating than women when it comes to enforcing discipline, and a lot of moms learn to utilize that tool very early on. But here's why maybe we shouldn't. It's not fair to dad. What dad doesn't tell mom, because he wants to be her protector and he wants to be the best parent he can be, is that it absolutely kills him when, after a long day away from his family, all he wants to do is come home and kiss and cuddle and hug his kids, only to walk through the door and have to be the bad guy. What dad doesn't tell mom, because he can tell that she's stressed and she needs a break, is that he can tell when the kids don't want him around for things because the threat of punishment exists with his presence. And I think it's really easy for moms to fall into this trap because we think to ourselves, well, I'm the primary parent, I'm with these kids all the time, I can off-source the tougher discipline to the tougher parent. And that sounds right in theory, but are we sacrificing our child's relationship with the other parent? Because when you tell a child at 3 p.m., just wait until your dad comes home, but dad doesn't come home until 6, that's 3 hours that this child is just marinating in anxiety and fear, all based around the idea of their dad coming home. That's going to change the way a kid feels about their dad, especially if it happens a lot. When men become fathers, they also want to be the security, the emotional support, the safe haven, not just the threat. Trust me, using that line won't improve your kid's behavior.
See, I don't think this is true with every single kid, because with me, as I grew up, I learned to realize that a lot of the times it was my fault. I did stupid shit. And I understand why my mom would sometimes use dad as a threat. Even though my mom was tough enough to discipline me herself, she smucked me quite a few times. Don't get me wrong. She slapped me across the face, upside the head. She's spanked me when I was a kid. You know, I was disciplined more times by my mom. Never, almost I'd say about 98% of the time by 99% of the time by mom. Because me and my brother lived with mom, and dad would get us. It was either I think it was every weekend or every other weekend. I can't remember which because it's been so long. But my relationship with my dad never really changed because he was also a very fun parent. We had me and my brother would always have a fantastic time with him. It was rare that mom would use dad as a threat, but as I grew up, I learned that a lot of this stuff was my own fault. I didn't listen. I was a little shit. But, that's kids growing up. As long as you are able to instill within your kids a moral compass, the difference between right and wrong, teach them, an actual respect and everything, and when they grow up they'll hopefully understand why you had to discipline them. Out of every man in this world that I've ever come across, I respect and love my dad the most. I've told people that if I ever have kids, I would want to be the kind of father I would want to be the kind of father to them as my dad was to me. So what she's explaining can easily happen, but I don't think it happens to every single kid, that they'll grow up to be very anxious, resentful, or anything towards their father. If anything, if they are raised well enough, when they grow up, they'll realize what they did is a lot of their own fault, and they'll understand why their parents had to discipline them. But there are some disciplines that are just can go a bit too far, but the regular kind of discipline.
Behavior anyway.
A lot of the stuff I know I'm rambling on, it might not make sense.
But the experience of getting to grow up looking forward to seeing your dad will have a way better effect. There's this phrase that very well-intentioned women keep saying to men, and they secretly hate it. Literally, we think we're so cute when we use this line, and we aren't. That line is, "How are you still single?" A bunch of dudes are already cringing. And the women are like, "Wait, what? Let me womansplain." We think we're giving a compliment because we're basically saying, well, you have so many attractive qualities that we are genuinely surprised you aren't wifed up. But to guys, it's just a shitty question to ask, because if they knew or had an answer for you, they probably wouldn't be single. It's literally like asking someone why they're broke. Like, I don't know, it's not for lack of trying. Now, another part of this phenomenon that's so frustrating to men is a lot of times these women will claim to like these qualities in them, and then they'll watch these same women turn around and date total boys with nothing going for them outside of charisma and putting on a face. Now, there are a lot of guys who would have no issue answering this question. They would just say real quick because it's not worth it, and those guys need a hug and a beer. But for most guys, unless you're planning on asking them out on a date, don't ask them why they're still single.
Yeah, it is really, really, really irritating and annoying, and it's just one giant fucking headache. I've had a few people, it's very rare for me, I've had a few people ask me why I'm still single. I've been single for a little over 10 years now. Not by choice, mind you. I would rather have somebody than be single. I don't understand how some people like being single. But that's a different story. It's just I never act anything but myself. I tell people, I've come up with this saying, it's like, you can either love me for who I am or you can hate me for what I've become. And I, on recordings, on stream, off recordings, off stream, at work, at home, anywhere you see me, I never act any different than who I am. Somebody can like me for who I am, or they can hate me for who I am. I do not care. But for who I am, when I try, and become friends with a woman, and if I find interest in her, and hopefully at some point I work up the courage to ask them out, I always get told that I'm seen more of as a friend or a brother. And if I had $1 for every time I heard that, I'd probably have more money in my bank account than I do now. It's at some point it's just not really worth it anymore. We'd rather have the woman come to us and tell us that they like us and want to go out with us. We'd rather have the woman come chase us sometimes, even though 9 times out of 10 it's the guy chasing the woman. It's nice to know that somebody wants us. It sucks being constantly told that I see you as more of a friend or a brother, and also being told I wish I could have somebody like you. Be like, then date me. There is nobody like me but me. And then they turn around and go date some fucktard who has almost basically 1 or 2 of the same qualities as me, but the rest of them are so fucking toxic that then she later on says all men are bad, all men are dogs, all men are shit. It's like, no, not all men are shit. All the men you pick are shit because you're a dumbass. So it's more of a headache at this point.
When you have pulled the whole friend group. Big oof, that is not the flex you think it is. First of all, girls who pull the whole friend group don't have a friend group for very long.
She a hoe. That's the thing. She pulled the whole friend group. She a hoe.
Second, when a girl's whole friend group is just dudes, that's a red flag to other dudes and other girls. There's also a term for when someone gets passed through the friend group. It's called a homie hopper. It's not the reputation you want.
Okay, I've never heard homie hopper. that is the first time I've ever heard that term. We just know them as a hoe. You a hoe. That's it. Plain and simple. You a fucking hoe. See, a lot of the guys, there are some guys who don't really give a shit. They don't. But a lot of guys don't like a woman who's been run through by the entire football team, so to speak. It just shows that you do not have very much self-respect for your self-respect. You do not care about yourself very much. You do not have very good logical decision-making skills, and it says a lot about you when you let the whole football team run through you like a steamroller. It's not good. Like it or not, it's not good.
And if you manage to sleep with every guy in a friend group, it's not something to brag about. It doesn't mean you're some irresistible babe. That's like a sacrificial lamb.
And yeah, the other thing is, it's I know a lot of people are hearing this nowadays, but it is much easier for a woman to get with a guy than a guy to get with a woman. A guy has to have so many different qualities just to be able to bring her out on a date. He has to be funny, he has to look good, he has to be a certain height, he has to make so much money, he has to have some great personality, he has to be an alpha, he has to be he has to be A through Z. A woman, she just has to be slightly physically attractive, and then she can just go up to a dude and ask to sleep with him, and 9 times out of 10 the woman will say yes. Or the guy will say yes, sorry. And then she'll be able to sleep with him. It's very difficult. It takes a lot for a guy to pull a woman. It really does. So it's for a woman to brag about being able to pull the entire friend group and sleep with them is not something to brag about. It's just, why should we celebrate something, or why should you be happy about something that's easy? It's
bragging about feeding so many people. Like, that's very selfless of you, but you're not exactly protecting yourself. If you think there's some aspect of competition, there's not. Because some guys seriously don't mind sharing. In a friend group, if they see a homie hopper, they'll just wait their turn. And on the opposite of those guys, you have guys who recognize a homie hopper and stay far away. But not many guys will sit in the middle, see you go through all their best friends, and then say, that's the one I'll settle down with.
Yeah. The other thing is, all these guys, if they run into a woman who's ran through so many guys, they'll sleep with you. Sure, they'll hang out with you, they'll be friends with you, they'll sleep with you. But they don't really see you as marriage material. They don't see you as someone that they can marry and have kids with. Guys, they prioritize purity over something like that. I mean, if you've slept with a couple of guys throughout your life, that's fine. It's just like 5, 10, 15, any higher like that. It's just it goes a couple of guys, fine. You've probably been through a couple of relationships, you probably slept with those guys, that's fine. It's okay. Everybody has that. It's just once you start getting closer to double digits, it becomes a problem.
If you really want to be the only girl in a group of guys, there's only 3 safe ways to do it. 1, you're gay. 2, you're in a long-term relationship with one of the guys. Or 3, you don't hook up with any of them. Men and women can be friends, but if you're counting how many of them you've pulled, you are not one of the guys. Trust me.
Men and women can be friends as long as both of them do not develop any sort of feelings for each other. I mean, feeling of friendship, yes, and care for each other as friends, yes. But as long as it doesn't go past friendship, then yes, both of them can be men and women can be friends. But like I said, as long as they don't develop anything past friendship. As soon as that happens, you can no longer be friends. It is one person going after you, and if you reject them, then it's very difficult to still be friends with that person that you had feelings for and got rejected by.
Him, where are you? Me, because I'm mad at him. This is a really clever way to make it look like you're at a party when you're not, but it's not a very clever way to get the resolution you're looking for when you're mad at your partner. Because none of the reactions are going to be what you want. Because what does a person who's doing this want? She wants to make him jealous enough to reach out and maybe apologize for what he did, but not jealous enough to make a breaking decision about the relationship. Let's analyze this one step further. This behavior is attempting to manipulate any insecurities he may have in order to solicit subjugation to her in the argument. But here's the thing, that's only one possible outcome. Here are the other more likely outcomes. 1, he recognizes exactly what you're doing. You didn't think he couldn't do that, did you? Like, I'm pretty sure it's actually included in the talk at this point. Son, you're gonna want to check that reflection.
It's a very petty and childish thing to do. If the woman is doing this to the guy and the guy recognizes that she's just trying to make him jealous and that what she's doing is obviously not what she says she's doing, all we're going to think is you're being very petty, you're being very childish, and why the fuck are you doing this? He's going to get upset that you're trying to manipulate him, and it's not going to turn out well for you.
On the Snapchat for any glare behind the cocktail, because if so, that's bait. And you might never find out he caught you because guys don't want to deal with the secondhand embarrassment of telling you that they know what you did. So instead, you might just be passive-aggressively snapping about being ghosted a couple days later. Option 2, he does deal with the secondhand embarrassment and just straight up calls you out. And that might be worse. He might be turned off by the fact that you thought he was dumb enough to fall for that and might want to pursue a relationship where no one's playing games, and he'd be entitled to. 3, he might fall for it, but still not be okay with dating a girl who acts single every time they get into a fight. Like, he could buy it and you could still get dumped. Or 4, he really does start crying and bugging out and apologizing and begging you to call him. And at that point, you still lose, because that's not a man, that's a little bitch. I'm sorry, but if you want a man who is that easily manipulated by his emotions, you might be toxic. But, like, the final outcome isn't even believable.
Yeah, that is obviously not believable. You can obviously tell that's a fucking screen. If you're gonna make it believable, at least go out. If you're gonna try and do something like this, at this point, you might as well just go out and actually do it. But here's my 2 cents on somebody trying to manipulate someone else through jealousy. You are a fucking idiot. If your immediate reaction to try and do something like this just because the person you're dating is doing something that, I don't know. It's just, if, let me try and put my thoughts together here. If you're actively trying to manipulate your partner by making them jealous and make them submit to you, to your whims and everything through jealousy, you do not deserve to be in the relationship. Sorry, you don't. Might as well end the relationship. And if the person who is trying, if you're dating somebody who's trying to do this to you, you might as well just tell them you either stop doing this or I'm ending the relationship, or just flat out end the relationship. It's not worth the stress. It's just not worth it. If you're dating somebody who's trying to manipulate you, just leave. That person doesn't deserve a relationship.
I can see the pixels. And wouldn't it be so funny if he recognized that glass from her cupboard? Look, any little technique like this, ignoring him all day, flirting with other guys in public, anything designed around making him just jealous enough to react is not gonna land you a good guy. That shit will either land you a return to Tinder or an asshole. Crazy idea, but next time this happens, maybe just try telling him, something you did made me upset. Can we work it out? But what do I know? I've just been with the same guy for almost a decade. One of the biggest differences between men and women is that men do not care how much women make. Even with women taking up more and more of the workforce, men do not care if a woman earns less, if a woman earns more, or even if she earns any income at all. A man will marry a part-time waitress at a diner if she's kind to him. Us women can't exactly say the same.
Yeah, that's the thing. When it comes to men, you can be the poorest chick in the fucking world, or you can be the richest chick in the fucking world. We don't care. You can be jobless. You can have $0, zero, zip, zilch, nada in your bank account. We'll still fucking date you as long as you treat us right and you make us happy. We men are very, very, very simple creatures. If you make us happy, if you make the place we bring you into feel like home and a safe place, and a place where we can just relax without feeling any stress at all whatsoever, we will love you, we will take care of you, we will provide for you. The minute any of that changes and we don't feel like it's a home, we don't feel like you're caring for us at all, you're done. We give zero shits to how much you make. We give zero shits to the kind of job you have. You could be somebody who's hired to go in sewers and pick up shit. You know, as long as you come home and take a shower. But we don't care about the job. We don't care about your social status. We don't care how much money you make. We just don't care. It's how we are.
Same. This is data from the Pew Research Center that shows which percentage of adults view each quality as being important or necessary.
Let's see. For men, for a good wife, being caring, compassionate, being able to support a family financially. Yeah, not very many. That looks about right. Contribute to household chores. Okay. Be well educated. Yeah, that's all. This seems about right for a good wife. Seems about right to me.
For a man or a woman to be considered a good husband or a good wife. While there's a slightly higher expectation for women to have a better attitude and to do a few more chores, men are vastly more expected to provide financially. And again, this is both men and women answering, so even men agree that they should be the providers. However, in a separate study, when men were asked which characteristics of a woman were necessary when considering marriage, financial competency was consistently one of the highest ranked. So in conclusion, men don't need a woman who earns money, they need a woman who understands it. What this also means is that men are significantly less likely to be more impressed by a woman with a big career who earns a lot of money. You could bring in $2 million a year and he will still choose a broke woman if she's kinder to him. So like it or not, that is one of the biggest differences between men and women.
I gotta say, all these from 47 to 52, she is correct on basically all of them. I got no disagreements whatsoever with pretty much everything she said. Well, that was Womansplaining Men to Women compilation 47 to 52. I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, please make sure to subscribe. Why am I saying that? Subscribe, don't subscribe, thumbs up, don't give a thumbs up. I just hope you enjoyed the video. If there are any other videos you'd like to see me react to, please make sure to comment them down below, and I will get to them as soon as I can. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.